So just whenever you signal?
Yeah. First, I'd like to start out by passing these out. So go ahead and take one and then
I get a flower. I prefer. I'll take yours.
you might be able to take two. I don't know because they're like hardly even here, but
I
anyway.
like the pink one.
So you're probably wondering why I'm giving you guys flowers. And it's, don't forget, you know, the big head or anything. It's not because you're amazing or awesome. No, I'm just kidding. But it's actually because I'd like to talk to you guys about the language of flowers. Before it was appropriate to express your feelings with words, people used flowers to communicate and convey messages. So I'd like to bring back this dead language just for today, and so that you can discover which flower you picked out and what it means. I will first discuss the history behind this language, and then we will move on into discovering what they mean. All right. So it started in the Victorian era, the time period, which we can thank for this language, and it was from 1837 to 1901. Florography, which is just another word for the language of flowers, actually was started by the Turks in the 17th century, and it was created sort of by the concubines of the king, and they would like pass flowers to one another, like to send kind of secret messages. Without speaking. It wasn't brought to England until Constantinople's wife saw this from the Turks, and she kind of composed this letter of what the flowers meant, and she brought it back with her so she could use it for herself. It didn't become popular, however, until Queen Victoria's reign, or the Victorian era, when she kind of like she like put it on her clothing, and then other people started following the trend, and they put it on like everything: flowers adorned, hats, and stationery, furnishings, pretty much everything, for hair, even jewelry. Certain flowers could convey messages of dislike or love, depending on how they were held, in the way that they were given or grouped together. All right, so now that you hopefully all have your flowers. I know it's taking forever for you guys to get them. There are multiple meanings for each flowers as well. Like some of them don't just mean one thing. So let's discover what they are. I'm going to cover roses first because there you guys have roses. A lot of times people just think that they mean love or romance, but actually each color of rose means something different. So go ahead. So the red rose does mean love, but white roses mean innocence, and yellow roses actually can mean friendship or jealousy or infidelity. So depending on who you want to give it to, what it means, it can be interpreted differently. And then pink roses mean beauty. Next slide, please. My favorite flowers are daisies, and they mean innocence and hope. Lilacs mean first love. Myrtles mean fidelity, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with The Great Gatsby, but the guy's sort of like hooker is named Myrtle, and so it's kind of interesting because fidelity means the opposite of that. So anyway, and then pansies mean that you're occupying someone's thoughts. So if you get a pansy, you don't know, they're thinking about you. So there are so many more. Flowers, like obviously there's a ton of flowers, so if you are interested in this, there's like tons of meanings, and I just kind of picked some of the most popular ones. Also herbs have meanings too, like basil means hate, and rosemary means remembrance, so it's kind of weird because we cook with those, so if you hate somebody, put some basil in their food, I don't know. If you're interested in finding out your favorite flower's meaning, you can go to the Farmer's Almanac online, just like Google it, and they have a whole list of like every kind of flower you can, and there's like all different kinds of information and stuff. It's really neat. So you can find out what your favorite means. And so in conclusion, I hope that you guys have learned a little bit about the language of flowers, and that you know now what your rose means. and so that you can give it appropriately to whoever you'd like, or you can keep it for yourself. Thank you. No, we can give it back.
No, give them all back. Oh, I have to pee. I don't want to go.
Oh, and you can have one now too.
Yes. Thank you. Oh my God.
You guys can take one. I know, I mean, jealousy or friendship.
And a white one. Yes.
Yellow
are pretty. They're very colored.
Anybody else?
The yellow ones
Jealousy
smell the
hurt?
best. Oh yeah, I'll take one. Why not? No. This one is the unicorn.
Oh, sorry.
That's ugly. All substitutable.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I have to do that.
Yes, you do. Erica, every time. So it's like you've been looking forward to this all spring break.
Yeah. Oh. So you're thinking. So you were thinking about.
All right, I like the thesis. I thought you had a good transition from the attention device to the thesis. You set it up pretty well. There's some interesting content, although I think you could use a few more instances for each of the examples that you have, like you did with Myrtle. You know, not exactly being following fidelity. You know, a little inconsistency in her naming there. I think some of those other illustrations about where people might have given those roses or those other flowers to indicate something or use them in a particular way would be helpful. The historical information was fine, although it did feel like it went by pretty quickly. Like I said, I think a few more examples or incidents would make it a little bit more intriguing rather than just, you know, a flash of information here and there. The delivery issues, for the most part, you're pretty solid. Your facial expressions, your eye contact are excellent. The body movement, you look like you're pretty controlled there. The gestures, sometimes they're a little bit limited. You have a tendency to hold your own hand while you're speaking, and once in a while you remember, once in a while you remember to, you know, use your hands to indicate like a transitional sort of phrase, you know, and then another thing, you know, and then your hand goes right back to holding the other hand, you know, so it does seem a little bit like you're a little reserved in that context, and I think you could be a little bit more outgoing. Your voice, you do drop your voice sometimes to indicate, you know, something for effect, kind of like you're pulling us in a little bit by dropping your voice like that, but then sometimes it just keeps going that way, and so when you do that for effect, it's great, but there are times when it's happening and it's not, doesn't seem like it's got anything to do with what you're talking about. You've either forgotten to keep talking or you just are failing to continue to project while you're speaking, so you want to be more consistent on that. I didn't see anything that was obvious about the anxiety. Maybe a little bit on the voice dropping out a little bit, maybe a little bit on the hands would be some of those indicators of anxiety. All right, thank you. Oh wait, I did want to mention one other thing. Passing out the flowers, you could probably tell why that was a problem. Yeah, because it's a distraction. It's great that everybody gets a flower, and I like the idea, but I tell you what, before they got their flowers, I could feel everybody staring over here. And when they stopped over here, it's like, well, hurry up, what's going on? You know, that sort of thing. And of course, once everybody had the flowers in their hands, they're looking at it and smelling it and that sort of thing. And it's, you know, they don't all get distributed until near the end of the presentation, so it is kind of in the background there. One of those reasons I tell people not to pass stuff out.